Disclaimer, part of this might seem insanely rushed because I did this first take and it took 20 minutes. So I'm just going to speed run through it and see if I can get it down to 16 minutes because I want to include all this information. Oh, God, my hair looks terrible. You know what? We're putting on a beanie. All right, we got the beanie on now. Locked in. Hello. Today, we will be reviewing The Batman. This has made me... I'm very excited about this because I'm glad I'm getting the opportunity to review this movie like professionally because I love this movie. I've loved Batman since I was like 4. If you want proof, I made this when I was like 6. Beautiful Batman figure. I was Batman for Halloween like every single year from ages 3 to 10. I've watched all the Batman movies. And it might be recency bias, but this is my favorite one. I've loved this movie all my life. It's fantastic. Let's get cultural content. Not much restrictions on what you can do in movies these days. Just make sure you follow your rating that you put out there. Batman was PG-13, so you could do a lot of stuff, but it's not R, so can't do any like gory, crazy stuff with action and blood and all that. In terms of like actual stuff, it's not. As I said, not much restrictions. Just don't do anything too crazy, too disrespectful, unless it's for educational purposes. Unless you just want to get canceled. I don't know why you do that. Big thing about this movie is that it brings much more diversity to the cast. We see a black Jim Gordon and a black Catwoman, and also the mayor of Gotham, Bella Real. It's a black woman in power. I think those are all cool aspects. I think it's an awesome thing to do to bring in diversity because it opens up a diverse set of skills and talents. You're not restricted just to white people for those roles, because in the past in comics and movies, Jim Gordon and Catwoman were white. So I think it's good because you just get better talents, and I think Jeffrey Wright and Zoe Kravitz did fantastic in their roles, and I think it was good to have the diversity in the cast. I still don't think there's necessarily enough representation at different demographics, but this Batman film definitely went in the right direction, and I'm glad the Times opened that up because those roles were reprised very well. So there's go through themes. Big one. One of the biggest themes in the movie is Batman's struggle between vengeance and doing what's right for the citizens of Gotham. I think this theme is beautifully portrayed by comparing the opening scene and the closing scene. 1 second. Timestamp for the opening scene is 5 minutes. 5 minutes flat to 10 minutes 37 seconds, and the timestamp for the closing scene is 2 hours 38 minutes 34 seconds to 2 hours 40 minutes 50 seconds. Continue. The comparison of that theme, the getting vengeance for doing what's right for citizens. In the beginning, he talks about how he's a symbol of fear and that he can't be everywhere at once, so he has to be a symbol of fear. And he says, he is the shadows, which I don't know. He just wants to be a symbol of fear to the criminals of Gotham. He thinks that's the way. At the beginning he just wants to get vengeance. He thinks vengeance for his parents is what his purpose is. But in the end, he realizes that he says he has had an effect, but not the one he intended. He's now a symbol of hope for the people of Gotham in this terrible time that the Riddler has put upon the city as he blew the whole city up. He realizes that vengeance isn't going to change the past. It's not going to change the future either. He needs to do what's in the best interest of the people of Gotham, and that's being a symbol of hope and having them have something to look at and believe in. And he realizes that he's trying to carry his parents' legacy, and he realizes what his parents would want. What his parents would want is not vengeance. It's for him. They want to see him I think they would want to see him be a symbol of hope in the city and do good things for people. And I think he realizes that at the end and kind of is sort of finding his purpose through that. So I think that's a great part. And I love how the opening scene and the closing scene connect in that way. I think that's really good. Just other themes. I think the film also has a general theme of government corruption, just compared to real life. A lot of people think America's government is corrupt. Just uncovering government officials who have corruption. They're on Carmine Falcone's payroll, which is not good. Batman's now figuring out how dirty the city is, and he starts to realize, like I said, vengeance isn't really going to change the future of the past. So he has to focus on how he can help the city and bounce back from what the Riddler has caused. I think also through Bruce Wayne, there's a theme that like trauma is hard, but dealing with it in a positive way instead of a negative way will help you cope, help you feel like a better person, and you'll also be helping other people at the same time. Like, you see like how he's handling it in a negative way at first. I mean, he's obviously like helping get rid of criminals, but he's also beating their ass and kind of instilling fear, and instead he should be light, like a symbol of hope and positivity. So I think that's kind of a theme, like dealing with trauma in that way and spreading positivity. Genre. So main genres of this film: action, drama, thriller, crime, fiction, superhero. I think the genre of this movie doesn't really heavily differ from previous Batman films, but it's definitely the darkest. I think it's closer to a horror movie in a way, because of the Riddler's, the main villain, his like psychological aspect. It's almost kind of similar to a horror movie villain, and it gets like an eerie, creepy vibe to the movie, which I think is close to horror. I wouldn't classify it as horror, the movie, but it's on the edge for sure. I think, yeah, so that's that. And then I think the action aspect of the genre is obviously the most prominent. There's a lot of intense fight scenes, and there's a lot of like big explosions, like I've stated, the big explosion at the end of the movie with the Riddler flooding the city. This big explosion, big action, and all the fight scenes. And also the scene where the district attorney, Gil Colson, is strapped up with a bomb. Timestamp 1 minute. 1 hour, 2 minutes, 25 seconds to 1 hour, 10 minutes, 15 seconds. Him blowing up, literally, is a big action part. Sorry, I should be laughing at that. I don't know why I'm laughing at that. Him blowing up, that's big action. He's a bomb strapped around his neck. So I think action's the biggest genre. And drama, mystery, detective, kind of noir also is a part of it. And like I said, bring it on the edge of horror, I think, is a kind of a cool part to it. I like that aspect of it for a Batman film. God, don't even get me started. Cinematography in this movie, delectable, fantastic, amazing. In this movie, I think, first of all, let me just set the basis. Having a director and a cinematographer working together and combining the mind of the director and the skills of the cinematographer, so much better than just letting the cinematographer do whatever he wants. And in this film, they both work together. Matt Reeves and Greg Fraser work together, and they made an absolute masterpiece, because the cinematography in this film is absolutely beautiful. It's the most unique and easily the best cinematography, in my opinion, of any superhero of all time. Superhero movie of all time. The movie was shot fully digital. You got the 35mm film, and they used anamorphic lenses to give it a unique look, I caught this little quote that I found in an interview from Greg Fraser, and I'll just read it out to you. He says, "Bruce Wayne lives in the shadows. He isn't a guy who walks around shopping centers during the day. This is a noir film, and most of it is set at night. My concern was that it might be hard to see anything, so I scoured the internet for images that were dark but easy to see. And I collected them in a document for Matt and for myself that I called Dark But Light. Those references inform certain decisions, like making sure there were almost always pools of light or bright areas in the frame." So, the whole the whole vibe is always dark. It's a dull kind of vibe, but like he said, obviously to see things in the scene, you have to have that dark but light, like he calls it, where you put pools of light in certain areas of the scene to illuminate the scene, but also keep a dark vibe at the same time. I think that's brilliant, fantastic. Also, read that they did a lot of active things, like always wetting the streets, keeping the streets wet at all times, so it looked like it just rained all the time, because that's the Gotham, vibe. It kind of makes it seem like, it gives the idea that Gotham's a really tough place to live in, and it's a hard place to save, which adds to just the whole message of the movie. For the color, color is there obviously, but it's much less saturated than regular films. Like I said, that dark vibe. He's going for like a dusty, dirty vibe with the color, just like because that fits Gotham. Gotham's dirty. Gotham's dark. It's a place that needs to be fixed, and I think the cinematography is put in a way that we see it from Bruce's point of view. Batman, Bruce's point of view. Because he sees the city as a dark, corrupted, dirty city in need of saving. And that's how he sees the city. I think the cinematography is in the point of view of Batman. And I think that gets viewers like way more involved. And I think it gets like them wanting to see the city alive again, wanting to see Batman, overcome this villain and overcome this problem and bring the city to life. I think that's a big part of it. The cinematography is fantastic. If you look in the scene, the opening scene, the cinematography, I want to talk about that because it goes from a wide pan shot of what looks like a Times Square type Gotham. I mean, it looks very similar to Times Square in New York, and it's got the wide pan shot of all the civilians packed in, and you hear Bruce talking about, I'm there too, like he's in the crowd just watching people from the shadows, and then it goes and zooms in on Bruce in the crowd of people just watching, like he says, waiting to strike. I think that's fantastic. I think the way the camera like pans down and then the cut to him in the crowd, I think that's fantastic. I think that's great editing, great cinematography. I just wanted to mention that because the cinematography in that film is fantastic. I mean, that scene is fantastic. But yeah, it's most of it for cinematography. So, all right, yeah. Editing this movie kind of depended on the scene, but I think overall the editing was absolutely fantastic. For fighting scenes, I'd say the cuts between punches, whether the camera's close or far, how fast the camera's moving. I think it's a big part. The speed of the camera is huge in this film. I think it was all very important, and I think it was all construed very nicely. I would say certain scenes, for example, I'll give you one scene when Batman goes into Penguin's club for the first time and has a fight with all of his goons, because he wants to find the Penguin and get info from him. It starts very slow when he's walking up to the door. He's taking his footsteps, slow, Batman vibe. Gets up to the door, starts talking to the goons, and then he's like, that suit of yours is gonna get full of blood, and he's like, mine or yours. And then Batman just beats the shit out of both of them. And then he goes in the bar, he's like quick, trying to find Penguin. You see the cuts start to get more, this starts to become more cuts. The camera starts moving faster. The background noises, the sound increases. The sound of the bar, the lounge. And yeah, it gets faster and faster. And it emphasizes the gunshots and the punches and all the sounds, and I really think that's a good part of it. And I like so there's some fast scenes like that, and then there's also examples of the scene where it's very slow and melancholy, like when the detective scenes where he's trying to figure stuff out, and then when he starts to figure it out, the music starts rising, and the cuts start getting faster, and the camera starts moving faster, and then when he finds it, it's like, all right, big pan shot, he found it out, and then they'll move on, I like that editing. I think it's the speed of the camera is a big part of it, and I like the cuts getting faster as well. I think the speed aspect of it is a big part, and I like that part. All right, last thing, sound. I wanted to mention sound because the sound in this film is fantastic. The music in this film is fantastic. I love the way that the music is used, obviously, but also the way that certain sounds are emphasized in scenes. Like I just talked about the Penguin Club fight scene. When they're in the scene, the club background music gets louder while also emphasizing the punching and the shooting in the scenes and making contact with people. I think that's a good way to focus himself in the scene. All the sound is constructed using real world sounds, so I found this awesome. But according to the web, they used a bottle rocket for the sound when the Batmobile starts up, like the iconic Batmobile startup sound, and then they used a real Ford motor engine for when it's driving as well. So real punches, real explosions, real gunshots, all that. For the music, for Batman, we get the infamous track, Something in the Way. Beautiful song. Something in the Way by Nirvana. And his theme, which is kind of villainous in a way. I feel like most of his music is villainous, which kind of keeps his dark aura and represents his need for vengeance and his anger. For Catwoman, she kind of has like a jazzy, low-key tone to her music to represent her quiet and sneaky ways. And then the Riddler is represented by the child choir, which represents his like trauma from the past and being an orphan. And I think his music is hugely important to the story and representing his origin and how he became a villain. So I think the music and the sounds are very good in this film, and I had to mention that because the sound is fantastic and so is the music. So that's my in-depth analysis of the Batman. Hope you enjoyed.